South Africa's two biggest mobile phone operators, MTN and Vodacom, have followed a very different approach to their operations in the country. MTN, with a much bigger international footprint, has focused on building its operations on the rest of the continent and beyond, while Vodacom has invested more aggressively in the local market. But I'm now joined by Finweek editor, that's Jana Marais, to discuss the outlook for the two firms. Jana, thanks for your time. Let's first just do a SWOT analysis of Vodacom and MTN. What are some of the key takeaways you took on or took away from in terms of their different strategies?
Yes, I think the big issue that's affecting, and it's not only affecting Vodacom and MTN, but really mobile operators around the world, is that you're seeing massively dwindling voice revenues. We're all rather on WhatsApp than picking up the phone to make a call. So it's that shift from voice to data. And of course, there's infrastructure investments that has to go along with accommodating that massively increasing demand for data. And I think then also, of course, prices are under pressure. So data, it keeps getting cheaper and cheaper. So how do you actually maintain growth and profit margins in an environment like that? So I think, I think for both of them, then also regulatory issues, interconnection revenues have been under pressure. Regulators are much stricter about that. And both of them have been affected negatively by that. Vodacom mainly in South Africa, and then MTN in Nigeria, which is their biggest market.
Let's look at the bigger local player. And if we take a look at Vodacom, Investec Asset Management's been quite bullish on this particular stock. Where do you foresee earnings coming from? And can you understand why they are so bullish on this?
Yes, and I think I'm just going to plagiarize from exactly what they were saying about it, which was quite interesting. I mean, the Vodacom share price has massively outperformed MTN over the past year. I think Vodacom's up 20%, MTN down 10%. And Investec's view is really that Vodacom has invested massively in South Africa in data infrastructure. So in terms of a 4G footprint, for example, they're way ahead of any of their competitors locally. And of course, MTN has, they've got a bigger footprint and many other businesses to worry about. But it does look like they have dropped the ball a bit in South Africa. You look at management turnover year, we've seen the long-running strike. So it just seems like Vodacom at this point is a better run local operation. I think Investec crunched numbers. They said, Vodacom has invested 4 billion rand more in the network in South Africa over the last 5 years than MTN. And of course, you can see that in data access and their footprint here. And it's been paying off for them massively.
You mentioned MTN's now down 10%, and MTN's been linked to the oil price because of Nigeria, the Nigerian exposure, and it's now being looked at as an oil play. But let's talk about Iran, and if these sanctions do come down. Is this going to be boosting the performance of MTN as a whole?
Look, I think the MTN Iran story has always been very interesting because ever since they entered that market, initially people were very critical of the move because it was seen as very risky. I think it's already been good news for them. I think they've still done well in Iran despite all the challenges. You look at data growth, for example, they've just reported data revenue up 85%. I mean, that is massive. I think that, with the lifting of sanctions, it will make it a much easier environment to do business in. It's much easier to get equipment in. It's, just they can get their money out of the country. There's $1.1 billion stuck there. But I think also things like just the currency's been under immense amount of pressure. I think the environment will just normalize. But then also I think, everyone is having high hopes for Iran and the economy. And of course, if economy picks up there, it can only be good for MTN doing business there.
Jana, thanks so much for coming in, telling us about this week's cover story. We're going to be heading into a short break, but when we come back, we'll be talking about cash-proofing your investment portfolio. Don't go away.